asked to lie. Oh, good for this man, they did not lie. So they entered and get special thing from the Lord. They stood their ground. You know, it's hard to stand your ground in times of crisis. So, going to the promised land, not easy for the people, for the leaders. Why? Because, you see, there are natural calamities, difficulties. The terrain, there's a desert, man. It's not green meadows. No, the geography is hard. And you encounter that. There are things that are out of your hand. When you walk with God, there are things that you can't control. They're there, but you have to go through it. There's no going around it. That's why some people, man, this is too hard for me. I just want to go back to Egypt. Go back to where I was before. I have no problem. Now I go to this church and I got this, got that, all kinds of stuff. And so, natural calamities. In this world, there's a journey. If you're journeying with the Lord, you're not exempted from hurricane. If you are journeying with the Lord, you're not exempted from Taal explosion. You're not exempted from coronavirus. There's a lot of natural enemies, difficulties. And also there's a problem with the food, supply of food. Remember, they're not planting. Supply of water. And the pest and the plagues and all that stuff. And as if you are in a journeying with God, that doesn't mean you're exempted from these things. You go through it, just like everybody else. Only you will see the difference between you and the rest of those who don't walk with God. Because God will show you His power. That He can make you go through these same difficulties the world is going through, but He is with you all the time. And then there are human enemies. So the people has problem, the leaders are problem, natural environments are a problem, and then they have human enemies, people who hated them, don't like them, and wants to get rid of them. The first one were Egyptians. The Egyptians wants to get rid of all male babies, and Pharaoh ordered to kill all new male babies. And, Moses is supposed to be one of them killed, but he got spared. So they have foreign people, outsiders, who are their enemies. Then we have the Amalekites, we have the Moabites, we have the Philistines, all kinds of people who wants to get rid of them. So they have the external enemies, and they have internal enemies within the crowd. Not just outside enemies, but within the camp, within the crowd, within the nation, there are enemies. There are the doubters, the fearfuls, the rebels, the troublemakers, the envious. Remember the case of Moses? They claimed, hey, Moses, you're not the only one. And, well, you know what happened, right? There was a rivalry. God split the ground open, and this family was swallowed alive in the ground. And, of course, the fearful who always look what? Go back to Egypt. Go back to Egypt is always their message. And the rebels always, give us water, give us this, give us that. Is God with us? And, of course, all those things are in your journey to what? The promised land. You still want to make journey to the promised land? If that's what you want to go through, you still want to make a journey to the promised land. Oh, you notice that there's really not much change with God's people today, if you compare them. And that's why in the book of Romans, Paul says, all this didn't happen by chance. They were written exactly for the purpose that you and I may know what those people of God went through when they were walking with God. And today is no different. You and I, if you're walking with God, we're going to go encounter also this kind of difficulties. Might not be exactly the same phase, but nevertheless, they're the same. The only question for you and I is, are you going to be a part of those in the crowd that trust God and follow God no matter what? Just like Caleb and Joshua. It doesn't matter what people say, it doesn't matter what they see and everything, they still will trust God and follow God. Would you like to be in that crowd? Or would you like to be in those who are always murmuring as they march? Always give Moses and Aaron trouble as they move to the promised land. Because you can choose which camp you'll be in. And that's what's going on in America today. I don't believe that America will be united. Maybe in the past, but not anymore. This will just get worse and worse. Because you have a group of people who believe in what's doing right, according to God's principle, according to the founding in this country. And those who believe all those has to be changed. And we want something new. And that's, I don't think it can be reconciled. Unless they all get converted and believe in one God. Which right now they don't. And that's why I think that's what Jesus says. That lawlessness will increase as He comes nearer and nearer. He's not going to be peace and peace will come. No, in fact He says when they see peace, they're deluding themselves because sudden destruction will come. So, that's what Jesus said. And I think years ago, it's not going to happen. But now, we can see it, right? In color. 24/7, you can see it. So, that's the first part, giving the background of this event that we're looking at. It's about God's people journeying to the promised land. Are you a part of God's people journeying to the promised land? Then this message is for you. Okay? Or if you are contemplating to journey with God, it's good for you to examine this so you know what's waiting for you. Okay? So now the next point in this story is, we see the enemy of God's people identified. The enemy of God's people identified. And it's clear, it's Amalek. And Amalek, by the way, is a very interesting person. The Amalekites are the descendants of Amalek. Amalek is a grandson of Esau. Remember Jacob and Esau? They were what? Brothers. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. They're twin brothers. And Amalek, actually the Amalekites come from these descendants of Esau. And they are cousins to Israel because of this. Because their fathers were brothers. So, and later on, these Amalekites were called the Edomites. They are the descendants of the Amalekites were the Edomites. And they're not Arabs. They are today the modern Jordan. So the Jordanians were the descendants of Esau and the Amalekites. Now, it's interesting to note that as soon as they got out of slavery, as soon as they started on their journey to the promised land, the first enemy that tried to stop them to enter the promised land were the Amalekites. Now, you read later on that Joshua fought so many battles against the Midianites, against the Jebusites, the Philistines, all those tribes that lived in that land. They fought those people. But the Amalekites were the very first before they entered the promised land. As soon as they got out of freedom, of their slavery, they are into freedom. Here goes the Amalekites right away, trying to stop them. Do you know that as soon as you decide to follow God, that doesn't mean, you have a lot of window to party and fun. No. That day you receive Jesus Christ, that day you said, I'm going to walk with God, trouble is going to come. People will start mocking you sometimes, exclude you from the group, discriminate you from whatnot. As soon as you decided you want to stand with God, troubles will right away come in. That's the Amalekites. Who are these Amalekites? Like I said, they're the descendants of Esau, cousins to Israel. Supposed to be nice to them because they are related, right? They all came from the same family. What the Amalekites represent today? Are the Amalekites still around? Oh, if you say by race, yeah, the Jordanians are there. They're making much trouble though. They're just nice, doing their own thing there. But the spirit of the Amalekites are very much alive today. In fact, there is an Amalekite in you and me today. What? Yeah. Notice what God says. Verse 16. And this is what Moses said to the people. He got it from God. God told him this. And he said, verse 16, the Lord has sworn. The Lord will have war against Amalek from generation to generation. Right there at the very beginning of their journey to the promised land, God told Moses, this is not the first time you're going to encounter the Amalekites. The Amalekites will be fighting with you for the rest of your life. Generation to generation. But if you go back a little bit, verse 14 of this passage, it says that God will make an end to the Amalekites. And the Lord said to Moses, write this in a book as a memorial and recite it to Joshua. What? That I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Wow. Circle that and underline that. God says it's not going to be you that will eliminate the Amalekites. No. I will do it myself from under this heaven. I will get rid of them. But that is in the end. But in every generation, this is what he said. There will be battle against the Amalekite, what? From generation to generation. As long as you and I are on this planet Earth, as long as we live on this planet, as long as we journey with God, the Amalekites will be there, giving you trouble and fighting with you. That's what God says. So, what is the Amalekite then? Well, foremost, the Amalekites are the enemies of God. Because that's what he said. I'll be the one to destroy them. But secondly, they are your enemies and my enemies. Do you know that the enemies of God are your enemies? And the friends of God are your friends. Do you know that? So I have problems sometimes thinking that some of these people, they are enemies of God, but they are friends to some Christians. Meaning to say, they sided with people that are exactly what God says He needs them. And so, this is the Amalekites. God identified Amalek as, he's going to be my enemy forever. But I'm going to make an end of them forever someday. So, the picture of the Amalekites, almost every commentator would say, that is the Amalekites are the picture of the human flesh. And that human flesh is in you and I today. That's why, as soon as they journeyed to the promised, the Amalekites were there to greet them. Not to shake their hands and have a party, no, to fight them. Give them trouble. And that's what happened the moment you become a Christian or you follow God. The ones that used to be your buddy, all of a sudden your enemy. And they're not going to push you towards your journey to the promised. No, they're going to stop you. That's what happened to these Amalekites. And that's what called the human flesh. The human flesh in the Bible is not this flesh that you see that I have, but the principle of evil residing in us. This principle of evil called the human flesh will be forever with you and I and forever as long as you live on this earth. You cannot get rid of it. You can fight it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I've been fighting with this Amalekite since I can remember. I fight him every day, this Amalekite. Sometimes he's stronger than I am, sometimes I got beat, sometimes I win. But I can't get rid of it. But God promised one day He will get rid of this Amalekite in you and me. When is that? When we enter heaven.